After catastrophic floods hit the region. Now, their work has been exhausting and, as you can imagine, at times mentally distressing. You'll see for yourself in this graphic video. Here on the northern coastline, workers have been retrieving bodies from the water days after they were actually swept out to sea. Crews have also been searching for the missing by combing through the rubble of collapsed buildings. First responders from all around the world have been trying to help out. Many are focused in the city of Derna, which has seen the worst damage.
Hours before the floods came, the situation seemed manageable, with local authorities keeping the flooding under control. However, the rupture of the dam caused a huge problem and resulted in a flooding, killing many people. It's a tragedy.
Experts say the sheer scope of the devastation has made it difficult to determine the exact death toll. But even though the extent of the tragedy remains unclear, the UN says there's no doubt about what caused it. Listen.
This is a tragedy in which climate and capacity has collided to cause this terrible, terrible tragedy.
Now we get more details from CNN's Derna Karatse, who is in Derna.
It was a storm like no other Libyans had ever seen before. But it's not only Mother Nature's wrath that's to blame for these apocalyptic scenes in Derna.
Right up there is where the dams were. When they burst, it unleashed all that water, the floods that swept entire neighborhoods like this into the sea. And you can see the force of the water when you look at buildings like this, and you can see how high the waves were.
Waves as high as 22 feet or 7 meters submerged buildings, and the current so strong destroyed almost everything in its path and washed it all into the sea. The Mediterranean turned into a graveyard for the people of Derna. How many lives lost here, no one really knows, but it's in the thousands. The once crystal clear blue waters, now murky and brown, tell the grim story of a city that once was, of those gone, young and old. Children a few months old, elderly people, pregnant women, they're in the sea, 21-year-old Abdul Wahab tells us. With nothing but a rope tied around his waist, he pulled 40 bodies on the first day, he says. There are other bodies. We don't know how to get them out. We just don't have any equipment, he says. Derna's gone. You won't see it again. They've gotten some help since. International support has been slowly trickling in, but nowhere near enough to deal with a disaster on this scale. It's mostly Libyans here, volunteers from every corner of this bitterly divided country, foes who fought each other for years, united in grief, doing what they can to mend the wounds of this broken city. Most are here to try and give the dead a dignified end. It's not the time to lay blame for what happened, many say, but the dams had not been maintained for decades, residents say. Had they been, Derna and its people may still be standing. Nearly a week on, emotions here still so raw. Tarek and his family climbed on top of the water tanks on their roof. They all survived, but most of his neighbors did not. There are 12 to 15 homes on our street. We lost 33 people, he tells us. He then starts to name the dead. Entire families gone. It's all just too much. Libyans know loss and death all too well, but nothing could have prepared them for this. Derna Karatse, CNN, Derna, Libya.